Hello and welcome everyone on this official platform of Legacy IS Academy. So today there is wonderful editorial in Indian Express which talks about the Prime Minister Modi and G7 summit, that means engaging with a divided West. Ji haan. And this editorial is written by C. Raja Mohan, one of the most important scholar in international relations. Now, what happens when the most powerful democracies in the world can no longer agree among themselves? When unity turns into silent confrontation and old allies, they start acting like rivals. So welcome to the dramatic world of G7 Summit 2025, where diplomacy is cracking, nationalism is rising, and one leader from the global south is watching it all unfold with quiet calculation. So, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, this summit was not just about trade or climate or defense. It was a peek into a divided West, caught in its own contradictions. Khalistani protest, Trump's unpredictable remark, Canada's sharp shifts, and Europe's growing discomfort. So, all played out on one global stage. But here is the twist: India is not even a member of G7, and yet it may be one of the biggest winners of this summit. Now, why did Canadian PM Mark Carney skip the usual joint statement? What's Trump planning with his 5% defense demand? And most importantly, how can India turn the cracks in the Western alliance into stepping stones for its rise as a global power? So stick with me, because in this video, we are going to decode the chaos, conflict, as well as hidden opportunities behind one of the most dramatic G7 summit in modern history. So what is the context? So as you can see here, this editorial. So now you can see the context here. Now what is the context? G7 Summit 2025 is happening in Canada, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is participating. Though India is not a G7 member, let me tell you, India is not a G7 member. It is regularly invited to attend. Now, what is the main idea? So, main idea क्या है? Now, first of all, try to understand that this G7, once it was a symbol of Western unity. Now, today, Western unity is deeply divided. And Prime Minister Modi's presence is a chance for India to assess these divisions and use them smartly, okay, to protect and promote Indian interest. Now, what are the current issues at G7? Ji haan, what are the current issues at G7? As you can see here, so there are various current issues at G7. Now, the first issue is Khalistani protest outside the summit, and they try to distract the attention, as you can see here, like distracted by anti-India protest orchestrated by Khalistani group. Ji haan, first thing, Khalistani protests outside the summit, they try to distract the attention. Then second thing is Trump's old remarks. Okay, second issue, Trump's old Kashmir comments also resurfaced, but these are minor issues as compared to the larger problems within the G7 people, within the G7 members. Now, that is the divided West. Ji haan, that is the divided West. As you can see here, divisions within the G7. Now, so as I have said, once G7 was a symbol of strategic unity among the world's leading democracies. Now, today G7 now reflects internal contradictions. So, today the West has been divided. So G7, which stands for unity among major Western democracies, but today it is full of disagreements over trade, over technology, as you can see here. So today they are disagree over trade, over technology, over climate, over global security in the sense Europe, Middle East, Indo-Pacific area. Now, what is the historical background? So let's try to understand about historical background. So now just try to understand that in this editorial, Sri Raja Mohan, he has written that Western countries, they have fought among themselves for centuries. Even during First World War and Second World War, rivalries between France, UK, US, Germany existed. Now, only during Cold War era, the West appeared united against the Soviet Union. And after Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the West felt triumphant, but soon disagreements re-emerged. Now, France early warnings. Now, France की early warnings क्या थी? In 1990s, France warned about the rise of US as hyperpower. France ने warn किया था 1990s में कि US एक hyper power के तौर पर rise कर रहा है, which is not even good for the Western countries, Western economies. And that is why France also promoted the idea of a multipolar world. That means the world should not be dominated by one superpower. And India liked this idea and worked with France and even Germany on it. So even as it built ties with US also, but India is also trying to create its good relations with other Western powers. Now, the most important example in 2003. Now, what happened in 2003? France and Germany, they opposed US invasion of Iraq at the United Nations. And then iconic movement came from 2018. Now, what happened in 2018? So, let me tell you, at the 2018 G7 summit, which was also happened in Canada, Trump imposed tariffs on steel and aluminium from Europe. Trump ने steel और aluminium पे tariffs लगा दिए थे जो यूरोप से आते थे. And a famous photo shows that Angela Merkel and other leaders, they were confronting Trump. बहुत ही वो photo viral हुई थी. And that is why Trump left early and he called Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at that time dishonest. And again, this year, Trump has returned in 2025. Now Trump is back. Ab Trump kya chahte hain? Now he wants to act alone. That is America first. He dislikes European liberalism. Then he also supports far right-wing parties in Europe. Then he is pushing high tariffs, 10% on many G7 countries. And Trump even this year, Trump even challenges the Canada's sovereignty to become 51st state, making comment about the annexation of Canada. Now, in this scenario, Canadian leadership, Mark Carney, a new Canadian PM, is hosting his first G7 summit. अब इन्होंने बहुत कोशिश की कि G7 कंट्रीज को यूनाइट किया जाए against Trump's aggressive policies on trade and defense. Now, in this scenario, what is defense and NATO drama here? So Trump demand G7 countries to spend 5% of their GDP on defense. This is more than the NATO guidelines of 2%. And that is why most of the G7 countries, they refuse and they're citing it as economic limitations. कि कुछ limitations भी होती हैं, है ना? Now in this scenario, another issue is also there: Russia, Ukraine, as well as Middle East, Iran and Israel. Now G7 countries, they are supporting Ukraine against Russia, but now there is a confusion about how committed the US really is, especially under Donald Trump. So the tensions have been increased after Israel strikes on Iran, which led to the G7 members disagreeing on oil, security, as well as diplomacy. And the most important thing that Sri Raja Mohan in this editorial, he talked about climate and digital disputes. क्लाइमेट और डिजिटल डिस्प्यूट्स के बारे में भी बात किया गया है। नाउ ट्रम्प एक्चुअली अपोजेस स्ट्रिक्ट क्लाइमेट एक्शन. He also rejects global rules on digital tech. And Europe क्या चाहता है? Europe want action, but consensus is hard. There is no common statement in this G7 summit. Normally G7 summit जब end होती है, it always end with a joint communique, that is common declaration. But this year, Prime Minister Mark Carney cancelled it. And this showing that no agreement on many issues. अब इन सभी चीजों के बीच में इंडिया को क्या करना चाहिए? What should India do? First, India should ignore the distractions like protest, है ना, और Trump Kashmir talks, है ना. India should ignore this, okay, as it is written here, okay. Second, India should fix ties with Canada. That means relations have been tense. Then engage with Trump, anticipating his growing influence. Then understand the West divisions. Then avoid negative fallout from the Western chaos. Then India should strengthen its ties with individual G7 countries. Then project India as a leader in the upcoming multipolar world. So overall, as we have discussed this editorial, which is written by C. Raja Mohan, and this is very important for your GS paper 2 as well as PSIR optional students, that the 2025 summit is a reminder that the Western world is no longer unified, and for India this is not a problem, it is an opportunity for India. And by playing smart, India can shape the new world order and protect its interests better than ever. So overall, we can say that this G7 2025 summit was not just a diplomatic gathering. It was a mirror reflecting the tensions, insecurities, as well as shifting power balances of our times. That means a summit where America's internal politics have spilled over onto the global stage, where Europe struggled to hold its ground, and where India quietly observing, adapting, and advanced its interest. So, amid broken communique, tariff wars, and ideological battles, India did not just attend the summit, India read the room of G7 summit. And now, as the West wrestles with its own contradiction, India has a unique window to step up, not as a side player, but as a central architect of a new and more balanced global order. So, in a world where alliances are no longer permanent and power is increasingly distributed, so India's multi-alignment strategy is not just smart, it is visionary. So, whether you are a student of geopolitics preparing for UPSC, or just a global citizen trying to make sense of our fractured world, this is your moment to understand the history is in making. So drop your thoughts in the comment section. Can India truly be a bridge between the old West and the rising West? Or will the divisions of today define the global conflicts of tomorrow? So don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel Legacy IAS Academy, because the world is changing fast and we will help you to stay ahead of it. Thank you so much.